Chapter 3. Focus on detail. When we look at the countryside, we see nature as a background. We enjoy the general greenness of it all. But one thing we don't do is see the individual plants. Children see nature differently. They see the individual elements of nature. They focus on detail. This is good for us as teachers, because focusing on detail allows us to integrate subjects. Let's have a look at some fascinating details in plants. The large, fleshy leaves of the sea squill absorb as much water as they can during the rainy season. Even their radial symmetry funnels water into their middle. When the season changes and temperatures rise, the leaves dry, sending all that stored water and food into a bulb underground. If we see the lavender shrub, it has to have such a different leaf shape because it doesn't have the luxury of hiding away underground during the hot months. So it keeps its leaves small to avoid losing water that evaporates from leaves when the plant photosynthesizes. Then there's the way a plant arranges its leaves to catch the maximum amount of light. Notice how these ivy leaves only slightly overlap each other when you see them from the top. And every plant solves temperature, light, water loss in so many different varieties, like this great sage, this yellow germander, this wild honeysuckle. And just look at the endless variety of leaf shapes of these annual wild plants. Now, let's see. Here's a leaf of the annual plant called borage. Borage is covered with hairs. Let's think about how a plant benefits from being covered in hair. Which of these do you think are true? Hairs tickle pollinators, giving them pleasure and making them return for more. Hairs give an unpleasant texture to any animal that tries to eat the leaves. Hairs break up the passage of wind over leaves, reducing wind damage. Hairs catch water droplets and absorb water. Dense hairs absorb sunlight better. Dense hairs reflect sunlight and protect the leaf from damage. Let's see how much of that you managed to get. The correct answers were: hairs give an unpleasant texture to any animal that tries to eat the leaves. They break up the passage of wind over leaves, reducing wind damage. And dense hairs reflect sunlight and protect the leaf from damage. You can use leaves in so many ways with children, all the while linking them to science, language, and math skills. But despite all this fascinating variety, our mostly indoors life has made us used to straight lines, shiny floors, and uniformity. In short, we have a big issue with neatness, and this gets in the way of our appreciation of plants. You see, plants have come up with all these solutions to living in their unique habitats. So they come in different textures, shapes, sizes, widths. This is biodiversity. And the more we get children to look closely and appreciate evolution's tricks, the more nature literate they become. But we've become so urban and controlled that we don't like this wonderful evolutionary variety. To our tame eyes, it looks shabby. So we till the soil, remove the plants, trim the borders, and box, concrete, or turf over all the shabbiness. This is actually mental illness, and we need to break free. So, what can we do? We need to create stations in our school grounds where children can remove the shackles and get up close and personal to plants. Even the most concretized of yards can have large planters. This is a sketch from our Dinya Wahda Action Guide that shows a corner of different sized planters growing wild. A plant station needs to have variety, not just because our children need to see real nature, but also because of all the syllabus and subject opportunities in there. One thing though, make sure you label your plant corner, because if you don't, most people will just think it's a shabby, abandoned corner and reach for the phone to call the gardeners to turn it into our modern take of a garden, a bare patch of sterile tilled soil. The Dinya Wahda Action Guide has activities throughout the years connecting children with plants. When we write these activities, we're dreaming of educators throughout a child's primary schooling taking up our program's resources and really making our children plant literate. We start early with plants, from Kinder 1, with planting in the topic Nature and Me. In Kinder 2, we encourage you to keep a plant growth chart as part of the topic Plants and Me. In Year 1, Nature's Magic looks in wonder at something we take so much for granted: seeds sprouting as if by magic from bare soil. In Year 3, we encourage you to set up a pollinator garden using the easiest ingredients, wildflowers. In Year 4, the topic Flower Detectives gets children to observe and learn about some of our most common wild plants. In Year 5, we focus on trees and provide a worksheet that you can tie in with a cross-curricular spread of subjects.